In May 2017, you pleaded guilty to stealing more than $2 million from investors and scheming to defraud, as well as, this is from Wikipedia.
Yeah, they're wrong.
Well, let me just finish
Yeah.
reading it, and then you tell me why it's wrong. In May 2017, you pleaded guilty to stealing more than $2 million from investors and scheming to defraud, as well as criminal tax fraud charges. Why is Wikipedia wrong? And how dare you?
Well, I mean, I did plead guilty to those things, which I had to. I got a jury duty summons, and I had to fill out like what charges I pled guilty to, and I had to go online and look it up because I didn't really remember. I thought that was interesting. I had to go look it up, but
Actually, let me finish the timer because there's one more point.
oh yeah,
March 16th, 2022, Bad Vegan documentary comes out where you're interviewed. They tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
Some stuff is true, some is not. Some is disturbingly misleading, as you said. Okay, timeline over. Anyway, what's wrong with the? How would you elaborate onto you pleading guilty for $2 million stealing?
So a lot of people plead guilty when they're for reasons other than they're actually guilty. So it's even right now. If I knew that I was going to have to spend 4 months or 3.5 at Rikers. And I was thinking about this recently. And even if I knew that I'd be acquitted at the end of a trial, I very likely would have just taken the 4 months because, the stress of going through a trial, but in particular, it'd be incredibly stressful not knowing the outcome. And then money and expense I didn't have. And so, people plead guilty all the time, even if they don't think that they should. And my situation was so complicated and hard to understand that it just was the easier thing to do. But also, I just was kind of going on the advice of lawyers. And
so the choice, just so I understand, was to plead guilty or to go through a lengthy trial, and that trial would stretch a long time, and it would be extremely stressful
and extremely expensive
because you have to pay the lawyers.
Right, and I didn't have anything.
Right. And so a lot of people in that situation might choose to plead guilty. And so that doesn't necessarily mean the full heaviness of that statement of guilt.
Right. And I think people plead guilty all the time in situations where they're being threatened with like a heavy sentence, and they sort of feel like they have no choice. But that's kind of part of a lot of things that are messed up about the system overall that didn't necessarily apply in my case. But
so we'll talk about to what degree you're guilty and what that even means.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it depends on intention, I think.
Yeah. But then the word intention also means a lot of things, like the word love.
That's true.
All right.
So the restaurant closed the first time when I was away and told to be off communication. And then
by Anthony.
Yes. And then
he told you not to talk to anybody.
He told me not to like open email or look at my phone or whatever. Okay. And so when I came back and had to get it reopened, which seemed like an unbelievably difficult task, and I was kind of shocked that I was able to pull it off. I worked incredibly hard to get it reopened, and because that place meant everything to me, and so I just had to get it reopened.
Were you surrounded by people that were just angry at you?
At that time, not yeah. Well.
The staff and all that.
Yeah, but most of them came back. A lot of them came back. I think what was so unbelievably painful about that whole time was like not being able to tell anybody what was really going on. And in a sense, not really knowing what was going on myself, but not being able to, like, having to pretend all the time was just like.
So you didn't really tell anybody about Anthony?
About him and what was really going on, in part because I didn't really understand what was going on.
Yeah.
So what I did was I raised money to reopen the restaurant, and I think I raised something like maybe like 900 grand. And probably 90% of that went to reopen the restaurant. And I even made 2 sales tax payments right before we disappeared. So it just sort of logically seemed like, so it's not like all of this money was taken and then he and I ran off together with a whole bunch of money. It was like I raised a bunch of money to reopen the restaurant, because I wanted the restaurant to exist again. And I wanted to, I wanted to run it. I wanted to reopen the restaurant. And most of that money went to reopen the restaurant. And then I disappeared. So sort of the timeline gets a bit wonky. So it's, this impression was created that we ran off with a whole bunch of money and we didn't. So, if I wanted to be a criminal and steal a bunch of money, why would I have put it all back into the restaurant and reopened it, and then also made 2 $10,000 sales tax payments that I didn't, and I also repaid, $10,000 of another loan. I was making repayments and stuff, and then boom, I disappear.
So is your mind going through a roller coaster here? So could there have been multiple yous there? So one mind is like, I love this restaurant. I'm going to reopen it. I'm this chef, business owner, this person. And then the other is a human that's in this complicated love affair.
It wasn't a love affair.
Okay. These are just words. How can I? Okay, what? I don't want to. I say that lightly, but also not, because love can make us do dark things, and you can say that's not love. But okay, the thing that traps us, the things that pulls us into a connection with another human being, that's love, even when it's abusive and dark and toxic and all those kinds of things.
In some cases, I think, like if it's voluntary, but in other cases, somebody pulls you in. So it's not like you're drawn towards them. They pull you in.
So just to clarify, even when it's not physical, when the pull is with words, so it's emotional.
Yeah.